Hello, Sagittarius. This is Seven Shadows. Welcome to your Tower reading for mid-September 2015. And these are getting out kind of late, so I'm just gonna probably start doing these once a month because it takes forever to upload. Unless I get faster or more organized. So, yeah, your reading is pretty interesting. It seems to revolve quite a bit around um, um, kind of like an evaluation of your life and perhaps walking away from some things that aren't working, walking towards something that's more fulfilling, and really kind of deciphering what it is that you want and need and getting ready to integrate some new things into your life. Um, hmm. Yeah, there seems to be a little bit of a dichotomy in your reading here between like work and earth sign cards and imaginative, emotional water sign cards. So they're not necessarily matching up, but it seems like you're doing a little bit of balancing on those two areas of your life. So the first card you have showing up is the Seven of Cups. And the Seven of Cups is a card about, it can be wishful thinking, imagination, daydreaming, and um, it can have so many different meanings. It can really be kind of a feeling of having your head in the clouds, being kind of imaginative, having like an active imagination, spacing out a little bit, and also maybe having a lot of different options you're looking at and feeling a little ungrounded about which ones to follow or which ones are the most important. So it's a card about, both imagination and trying to remember to be realistic and evaluate some of your emotions and desires for what they are. And it's kind of tricky because um, you might get carried away. It is kind of about your dreams and fantasy, and that's kind of inherent in your wishes and desires, especially if they're not something you have at the moment. Um, so it's a time to really like get realistic about what it is you want and where you are, and like evaluate what things in your life you're happy with, what things you're not happy with, and what areas of yourself have you become happy with, what parts have become stagnant and you're kind of bored with, or perhaps ignoring or covering up with imaginative fantasies and whims without actually addressing and trying to fix those areas of your life and bring more fulfillment that you're looking for. This card can also indicate that you might have some emotional unfulfillment, and that could be it could be for all kinds of reasons. For some of you, it's definitely for love reasons, like you don't have the love in your life that you really need on an emotional level, and you may have had some loss in the past and kind of confusing relationship issues, and you're trying to kind of work through that and piece that all together. So I do see that happening for some of you, and just having some sadness around a past breakup or a relationship that didn't really end up living up to your expectations. Or maybe it took you off track from yourself and you feel a little bit like scattered at this point. Like you went through that and you're not sure if it made you a more whole person. So this is, it's very much an internal card. You're taking a look at your emotional needs, wants, desires, and aspects um, of really everything. You're just kind of taking, well, going into all of that self reflection, I guess. A lot of self reflection. And it's a very individual process. So you might be like going to some therapy or talking to some people or just doing some meditation or free writing or just evaluating of yourself. So it's more of a self oriented card. You're focusing on yourself and what your needs and wants are that have been unmet and what you can do about them. So, yeah, that's a very strong card in your reading today. And it is a 7, which is kind of it's a card of difficulty and needing to, well, it's like, it's a magical number. It's my name too. It's a little bit odd, I guess you could say. So it involves kind of like creativity, individuality, and yeah, kind of ingenuity. So you might have to think in ways that you hadn't thought before, or look for options you hadn't thought of before. So you can even be kind of like brainstorming. And, this brainstorming phase, or heartstorming, whatever, is about, eventually you'll have to choose a journey or choose what you want to do about this. But at the moment, you're kind of in a brainstorming area, coming up with thoughts, feelings, and ideas. Just try not to let them run too wild, because this card can have to do with getting carried away and even potentially with drugs or alcohol or just escapism in general, if you don't want to face reality right now. So try not to do that to excess. And the next card you have showing up is the Four of Pentacles. And this is a card they sometimes call the Miser card. And it's about beginnings of financial gain, having some financial stability. Maybe you started a business and it's kind of working out, or you have a job that is paying enough for you. You've reached at least somewhat of a level of stability and, I don't know if it's mastery or self-mastery, but kind of like a solid state where you're standing on your own 2 feet, you're self-sufficient, able to pay your bills. It's kind of a very earthy card in a material sense. So it often comes up to me as like you've been determined and you've made it happen in some way. So that's great. I don't think it's really, whatever this is, it could be also leading to your feelings of not quite fulfillment, because you have been kind of involved in just work, and stability has taken a lot of your focus. Probably at the expense of some of your dreams and wishful thinking. So you have that kind of dichotomy going on there. Yeah, it's also a time when you're holding on to your money protectively, not overly spending. You're very thrifty, and you're probably, not trying to make any big plans that involve money or any kind of big steps. You're really trying to pare down on your expenses and save. And it is kind of a card about restriction. You have like these limits and boundaries that you're setting for yourself to make sure that your life is in order and that you can be self-sufficient, and all of that, kind of giving yourself some boundaries and some rules for doing that, which is funny, contrasted with this imaginative state that you're in. And the next card you have coming up is the Seven of Pentacles. And this is a card about hard work and progress. And often I get this during like harvest time, during the fall, and reaping the benefits of some hard work. So it's like your hard work is starting to pay off. And, in some decks, I think this is more of a card of exhaustion, but here it seems pretty happy. He's working in the fields under a rainbow and a waterfall. So it's like you have a nice working environment. I think it makes you fairly happy. Um, yeah, you're definitely pouring yourself into your work. Um, and again, I don't know if it's fulfilling all of your heart's desires, but I'm, um, maybe that is a different aspect of your life that's going to fulfill your heart's desires. Maybe you can work and have a relationship at some point. Um, but it may be saying that you need to bring in some element of your heart and your spirit and your soul into your work life, and you're just not getting that, or you're not sure if it will grow to that point. So that's something to think about. Some of you might be in a position where you do really love your work and feel connected and gratified by what you do, and some of you are a little bit uninspired. You're glad that you have the opportunities you do and the work ethic that you do, and keep plugging away at it. But you can potentially become kind of addicted to work as well if you take that route, and deny some of the emotional needs instead of addressing them. But at the very least, financially, it looks like you're in a pretty good situation. So while you are, as you'll see in the next cards as well, kind of evaluating and making some big changes in your life, or thinking about what big changes you need to make and want to make and how to do that. At least at the moment, you do have some savings. You have a good income flow. So that's really great. A stable job, you know. At least you have that going for you. And it seems like it's not something you mind too much. And the next card you have showing up is the Lovers. The Lovers, yay. So the Lovers is about love. It can be about a love interest. Also, oftentimes has to do with kind of a love triangle, potentially. I'm not sure why that is, but I usually see it more as like a kind of soulmate card. So whether you meet someone who you fall in love with, kind of out of the blue, or that's coming up, or you're preparing for that state internally, like you're kind of evaluating yourself and your needs and your desires, and um, uniting your like masculine and feminine sides to a point where you're like bringing this fresh love energy into your own life. So like loving yourself can be a big part of it, but it often does have to do with another person or another love that's potential. And it's interesting because I see this could be a few different things out there. Obviously, there's a lot of potential people watching and different parts, different experiences you're going through in life. But it looks like, with this card, you could have had a relationship that ended recently and you're kind of like yearning for a new one that's more fulfilling, and you end up getting it. And for some of you, you haven't left a relationship, but you're thinking about it, and maybe someone comes in that sweeps you off your feet, or you just realize that you're not really in love and you want to follow your highest ideals for like a love that's fulfilling on like physical, emotional, spiritual levels, all of that. And yeah, and the Lovers often has to do with like a faded relationship, like either some kind of karmic bond or twin flame or something that's kind of faded. You two kind of match like two pieces of a puzzle and have almost no choice but to go together and experience what you have to learn through each other and teach each other. So if you do run into this person, I think it might really, be one of those strong for life relationships coming in. And for others of you, you're just kind of realizing what you need on that level and trying to get yourself into this mindset where you're like, you know what, I do deserve love. I shouldn't just settle for unhappiness. I shouldn't have to settle for boredom. I shouldn't have to believe that there might not be love out there, or like stop believing in real love. You might be a little bit jaded from something that happened in the past. So that helps you like evaluate yourself and all of that. And I think at this point or very soon, you're going to start clearing out some of your baggage and some of your, some of the sense of lack and doubt out, so that you are kind of opening yourself up for this new love to come in. So it's interesting that that is on your mind while you're doing all of this work and stuff. Because again, I don't know if your heart can be that in your work. It's again, you might be daydreaming quite a bit. Which is okay, but yeah, again, try not to get swept away, because the Lovers is a very Gemini card. It's kind of airy, kind of floaty, I suppose, and can give you wings, but it can also be kind of a fantasy. So maybe it might be important that while you're doing this evaluation of yourself and some healing work on yourself and on bringing your masculine and feminine parts in balance, figuring out what your emotional needs are, what kind of partner you would like and need. As you're doing that, you might want to try writing it down, because there's so many lofty thoughts and ideas going on in your head. You want to know or be able to look back and say, you know what, this is important, this is just some fluff. So you might not be able to decipher so easily right now as you're fantasizing. And the next card you have coming up is Temperance. And Temperance is such a beautiful card too. This coming up with the Lovers is just reminds me of, we have two opposites here being combined and balanced. Same with Temperance. It's a combining and balancing of opposites. So often the spiritual and the material. The emotions and earthly needs. Since we're working with a lot of watery emotional energy, as well as your stabilizing earth work kind of energy, I think the Temperance card is saying, you don't necessarily have to up and leave one for the other. You can probably have both, but I'll take a little bit of experimenting and mixing and trying out different combinations of things. This is a card kind of alchemy and patience. So you're trying to get the right balance of all the important things in your life. You need the right amounts of different elements and the right vessels, and almost scientifically, like you need different processes to make them. So this is a time when you're doing quite a bit of experimenting and inner balancing and inner cleansing and alignment and learning how to build your world from the inside out. So it's balancing the inner and the outer world, the spiritual and the material, but it all flows from this place of inner harmony and balance and self-love as well. One thing that's striking me about these three cards is that there's a rainbow running through all of them. Is this the right order? I don't know if you can see that, but each of these cards has rainbows. This is pretty. Um, and I see the rainbow as like a bridge again between the spiritual and the material realms. So you're probably feeling this draw towards higher elevation in your life, this draw towards some spiritual calling or spiritual fulfillment, and you're just starting to kind of decipher what this means and how to bring that into your daily life, how to bring that down to earth, and how to bring your earth to an elevated state. And often with temperance, you can be doing this through types of mind-body work, through meditation, some kind of healing therapies, maybe massage or yoga, um, any kind of alternative health therapies that you find helpful with all of that. And you're probably doing some spiritual searching. Yep. Because especially looking back at the seven, it's all this fantasizing often comes out of a sense of boredom, so or just unfulfilledness. So you're kind of like looking for the next thing and looking for this thing and that thing, and then there's this mystery of like, oh, what is it that really will fulfill me? And that has to do with your inner depths, your heart, and your spirit. And so yeah, you're really going on a search for all of that. And I do think you're finding it too, right at this in this month. And as an overview card here, I have the Eight of Cups drawn for you, which is interesting. We have these two cards flanking your reading here. The Eight of Cups is, it follows the seven from the sense of making a choice and making a decision to move forward. So it's like you've grown bored or kind of like comfortable emotionally here, but you know that you need to make a move towards something more fulfilling. And it's kind of about stepping out into the unknown. And it's tough because you don't know for sure if you're going to find it. So, should you stay where it's safe or should you go on this new journey for inner fulfillment? And the answer is you do have to go. You do. But you decide when the time is right for you. So, yeah, this is also a very powerful card about kind of plunging into your emotional depths and questioning things like maybe a lot of what you used to find fulfilling you now realize is kind of superficial. You're kind of disillusioned by it. Sometimes this card comes up as the hangover card, where you like wake up with a hangover and realize that whatever situation or relationship that you're in is not emotionally fulfilling. It's actually kind of damaging. It's not really healthy for you on higher levels. So you realize you need to walk away. You need to make a decision. And if you stay here, you're just going to be repeating that unhealthy cycle and staying unfulfilled. So that is certainly the big theme of what's going on for you here. You're looking for love and inner balance and harmony. Hmm. So, yeah. Sorry, I'm going to take a little pause and see if I'm missing anything. Hmm. Yeah, and temperance again. Um, comparing these cards, this is kind of like it's a decision. It's kind of a final decision. You have to walk away from the past to start this new thing. Whereas the temperance cards is kind of the opposite sort of message. It's saying, you can balance different things. You don't have to take a drastic, you might not have to take a drastic move or make a sudden move. So maybe this decision doesn't have to come quite suddenly. Maybe you are working up to that point. So, up until you make this move, you should try to balance these different aspects of your life and, try to continue working with some diligence. Try to continue doing little things to bridge the spiritual and the material and make yourself happy. And trying to do this inner evaluation before you move forward. So, yeah, you don't necessarily want to take any extreme here. It's really all about balance for now. And then with this card, there's definitely the possibility of just kind of dropping it all and going on a new quest. But it seems like that is on the horizon. I don't think that's happening right now or this month, but it is something that you're realizing. That dream is taking shape. That possibility, or all those possibilities, are being laid out before you, and you're going to choose one. But yeah, it's definitely saying choose wisely. Choose very wisely after a lot of reflection and inner work. So yeah, and I do see wonderful things coming for you. I would guess that like this fated love relationship is probably not coming in immediately since you're going through all of this self-discovery right now. So, but this is certainly, I feel like this lover might be coming in right as soon as you kind of go through this process. So keep this kind of as your like star to follow. And try to determine more about what your needs are in love and anything you've learned from previous relationships. And get yourself ready for that, because I really think that that is coming up, and just getting yourself clear on the possibilities and having a little bit of faith in that is going to help you get there and help this other person find you, because they might not find you where you are right now. So I hope this has been helpful for you, and please let me know if you have any questions or comments or concerns. And I hope you have a great month. Make sure to choose wisely and not drown in your emotions and fantasies. And I think you will have quite a spiritual time, really. You've been through a lot of self-discovery, so don't be hard on yourself if you're not living up to other people's expectations at the moment. You're doing this internal work. It doesn't necessarily show yet, but it's very important nonetheless. So yeah, have a wonderful evening and month, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace and blessings.